You're listening to Nexxlegacy.
All right. This is Nexxlegacy Radio. Charles is here with my guest, multi-award-winning filmmaker, award-winning director, actor. Listen, Zenni is an advocate for women and children, brought to you by Bench Boy Productions, Inc. You can follow her on Instagram at Zenni, SUNNIE, Biz13. Zenni, my queen, thanks for taking the time out, and I'm glad to have you here on Nexxlegacy.
Well, thank you for having me. The pleasure's all mine.
I appreciate it. And also, you know what? Before I start asking questions, because I know you have something as far as broken vows that I want to talk to you about. I want to kind of dial it back for a minute before we start talking about it, to let the people get to know you a little bit. Not just, obviously you're in Canada, the station's worldwide. You're going to get a lot of people who's getting to know you for the first time. So tell the world a little bit about you and how you got started doing directing and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you for asking. I guess you could say it started in 2005, and I was an actor, am an actor, and there was a situation that happened within my family in terms of a bullying situation. And when it was all said and done, it didn't sit well with me, and I was not satisfied. And ironically, I walked into a camera store for whatever reason at that time and looked up on the wall, and I had an epiphany. And the epiphany was that as an actor, maybe for a moment in time, I would step from in front of the camera to behind the camera, because I recognized there was a void for the education in terms of anti-bullying education. So I purchased a camera, sat my sons down and said, how would you feel about producing a documentary with me that would not only help you, but help so many others? He took 3 days, came back to me and said, let's do it. And there began my journey of filmmaking.
Wow. A lot of it sounds like divine intervention. A lot of it sounds like you were, situations brought you to that camera store, obviously got you in tune with, let's just try this. A lot of situations, more or less led you to where you're at and where you were destined to go in a lot of different ways. Do you feel like a lot of the circumstances that did take place in order for you to get set up this way kind of led you to this point where, this has always been in me, I guess, but now it's really out there. Now I can, maximize it to the best of my ability to get the word out?
Well, Charles, I always wanted to combine my talent and my art with my advocacy. And so I found a way that would be far-reaching, and in hoping that I would help the masses or many people through my filmmaking. So to be perfectly honest, I always felt and do feel that I was meant to be in the place that I am now, and that destiny brought me here. As, cliche as it may sound, I truly believe that.
Amen to that. And, and I think in a lot of cases when it comes to specific things in our lives, I always feel like it's a lot of what sets you up, from, past, not just trials and tribulations, but just a lot of work, the journey, right? A lot of people talk about certain things like that. I mean, do you feel like right now, this journey that you're on, it's on the path that you, in a lot of different degrees are comfortable with? I mean, a lot of people go from, I got so much to do, or there's so much to go, but, a lot of people, like, sometimes you got to step back and slow down and just recognize the journey for what it is sometimes, right?
Well said, because I just had this conversation that I need to step back just for a second and breathe it in, take it in, and recognize my hard work and what I've done thus far. But I totally agree with you. But it's been quite a journey, Charles, I must say.
Amen. And you have this multi-award-winning feature-length documentary, Broken Vows, Stories of Separation, and just reading a little bit about it, trying to get to know a little bit. I mean, it takes, all of us into the lives of women, stories, tales from these women that's caught up in the crossfire of marriage breakdown. Personally, I feel like it's important. I feel like everybody should get a chance to know everybody at certain situations at this particular time. But, marriage breakdown, it happens a lot. Tell the listeners a little bit about just how this all came to be as far as the documentary.
Okay, well, first I'm going to start by saying that every one of us is touched by separation, whether it be directly or indirectly. And being a curious person, the curious person that I am, a moment in time, I kept meeting an influx of women that were experiencing what I would consider injustice in terms of their separations, whether it be, as I put it, sequestered in the court system for years. And I really felt the need to understand it. So my first step was to meet with a judge and have a sit down and try to understand why in this particular situation, being women, why this was allowed to happen. Who was enabling this to happen, where women would be sequestered or caught in the court system for years, dealing with the separation, unable to move on, and being fearful of what was around the corner, but yet not knowing what that was.
So when it comes to just the overall conversation that you had with the judge, I mean, I always look at it like this, Sonny, and I always, because to me, especially from a male's perspective, I'm in my 40s now, so I'm still learning as I'm going. So, follow me as I tell you this, like, as men, and I'm just speaking for myself, but just in general, just talking to, other men, and just, trying to understand women, I think we all have an extra layer to, step back on an occasion or two, or maybe keep it consistent, because we don't understand everything that women go through. It can be vice versa, but right now it's all about women. We don't understand. So when we have certain expectations that we set or certain boundaries that we want to put upon women, we don't understand trials and tribulations that a lot of women go through emotionally, physically, obviously, and so on and so forth. So, from your findings, I mean, is there a lot of men out there that is co-signing some of the things that I'm just saying right now, or is it just still status quo from judges to lawyers to entertainers to whatever?
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking me if men are actually taking the time to understand women better. Is that what your question is?
Yes.
Well, being that I did work on this documentary for 5 years, I predominantly focused my area in the women's side of things. Mm-hmm. And so I interviewed, including myself, 7 women for this documentary. And so that's where my focus is. But in answer to your question, I would really like to think so. And watching this documentary will certainly be an eye-opener for men, no question. And there's something in there for them to walk away from and learn from this documentary. So I hope that answers your question.
It did. Sonny McFadden Curtis is my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. And what are some, when it comes to marriage breakdown, just from your conversations with the women that is obviously on the documentary as well, but just in general, like, what are some misconceptions that you feel like is out there in terms of just what people perceptions are, or anything of that nature? What are some misconceptions out there when it comes to marriage breakdown from a women's perspective?
Well, I don't profess to be a therapist or a family counselor, but what I will say, which is helpful basically in any relationship, is to stop and take a moment and actually listen, not just listen, but actually hear what is being said to you. Take it in, process it, and don't be too quick to jump on what is being said to you, but allow the time to process it and allow the woman in this case to be heard. And I also consider that to be on both sides, but in this case, we're talking about women. Right. And communication is key, again, to any relationship. So you can't step on a conversation. You need to just sit back or stand back and listen to what is being said to you. And if you don't understand it, ask questions.
I think that's important, especially nowadays. I think being transparent in society, it's a double-edged sword according to some people. I always feel like you can never have enough communication, even when you feel like you've reached a threshold in, explaining yourself in detail. Sometimes you may miss something, or sometimes somebody may think you missed something. Whatever the case may be, it's a full circle when it comes to transparency. Do you think this documentary in this day and age today, where, let's just keep it solid, there's a lot of microwave marriages, microwave relationships, people are in and out so quick, it's crazy, right? So that's perception of some, and obviously on the record for some as well. But for the people who really want that long-lasting partnership, relationship, bond, connection, what is your perception that this day and age and this generation is going to be able to adapt, understand, listen, and put the action into what's being laced out there with this documentary?
Well, one of the experts in my documentary, just for starters, Bill Eddy out of San Diego, says that we should not rush into anything in terms of relationship. We shouldn't. And these are the things he suggests you don't do in the first year. You don't buy a house. You don't make any big moves. You don't get married. You don't buy a dog. You just learn about each other, because, if somebody's not being real or being honest, the chances are that that's going to come out within the first year of a relationship. Not always, but the chances are very high. So you don't want to make any big moves in the first year of a relationship. Just take the time to get to know one another and, be loving and caring to one another. And again, back to communication. So I wouldn't be, or you shouldn't be, in a rush to move forward too quickly in big moves.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I mean, I think it's important. It's important nowadays. There's so much information out there, but so little people know and understand when it comes to connection, human connection. Just give the gift of trying to understand each other. A lot of people want it so quick, so fast, but there's a process. And let me ask you this. Sonny's my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio, and, some of the traditional values that a lot of us either have or we've seen in our lifetime, or, we've heard people talk about, family at the dinner table, no social media interaction, no phones, no nothing. We never had it. So it was always there. The conversation and communication at the dinner table was always a positive, when it just comes down to just being able to talk and just about your day, if you had a long day at work, at school, whatever the case may be. We don't see much of that, or you don't hear people talk about it as much as they did. Is that part of the problem too, when it comes to just understanding each other, when it comes in terms of just relationships, not even marriages, really, just even a friendship or a bond or a partnership, family too?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, because if I'm sitting with somebody who is on their phone, the first thing that I'm going to feel, and I'm going to truly believe, that they're not interested in what I have to say or being there with me. It's really, as far as I'm concerned, and I would say a lot of experts, you want to be in the moment, and you want to take in the situation, relationship that you're in at that moment. But I would have to agree that, how can you be full in on a conversation or getting to know somebody if whatever's on that phone is all the more important than what's happening right there in front of you? And, you can't possibly listen full on to a conversation when, you've got your nose in your phone, and that would appear more important than what's happening to them in front of them.
Right. And Sonny, they don't talk about courting anymore. Listen, Sonny, I had a conversation with somebody obviously younger than me who didn't even know what that word meant or was or anything like that. I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know what courting is? You don't know the process? And this person was in their 20s and a guy. And I'm like, you don't understand that there is a process. A lot of it is like, bam, give it to me now. Wham, bam, whatever you want to call it. But I always feel like it's important to have people reflect upon understanding what certain things mean. If you don't know what it means, not just look it up. If you not just look it up, put that action into it as well. Just, try it out, because I guarantee you this. If you are a little bit more transparent than normal, you will probably get a different outcome of how your conversation is going to be, right?
Well, I think transparency is a good thing, but I also think holding back a little bit and letting out, at the appropriate time, parts of your life or your experiences, and, make them work a little bit for it. And
Amen.
But, pardon me?
Amen to that. No, go ahead.
Right? And so I'm always about transparency, but, in the days that we're in now with the dating apps and whatnot, it's just so rapid and so fast and so escalated, and that you just miss so many of the charms of, like you said, courting. I haven't heard that word in a while, but courting, and just making them work a little bit for it instead of just rushing things. And, I think going back to one of your original questions, I think that'll help sustain an ongoing loving relationship, is if you just, what really is the rush? I get it, we're in a pandemic, and I get, things are difficult and some might be lonely and whatnot, but I still don't see the rush. And that's from my perspective, and many others, I would say. And just back to the good old communication, but put the phones away.
Yes. Put it away. Let's not even talk about social media. Let's just talk about each other. Don't talk about each other and what somebody posted or put out there. It's just you and I, one-on-one. I think that's important. Sonny is my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio, and what I feel like this, especially because people I feel like should know more about not just this documentary, Broken Vows, Stories of Separation. My question is, first off, where will people be able to capture this or catch this information as well, being able to see this documentary? When will the public be able to see it, if not now?
Well, Charles, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. Right now, being that I had just completed a second project on the heels of Broken Vows, I was waiting to finish that, which happens to be Broken Vows, Stories of Separation, the resource, and I'll explain a little more about that in a moment. But I was waiting to finish that before I started doing press and started further conversations with distributors. So I'm in talks now with distributors for my projects to be on many different platforms. But if people really want to know how to find out more about it, they can follow me at Sunny, S-U-N-N, like Norman, IEBIZ 13, and follow the journey, and I'll keep you posted as to what my next steps are.
And this is great. I'm intrigued by it. Just taking a look at just some of the, news information, what I'm saying, that I got. I just want to know. I just feel like we can, again, it goes back to what I was saying before, not just from a male's perspective. I feel like it should be a universal perspective of communication. Like, I want to know. I want to understand how women feel in terms of what they go through, because we've heard the stories and seen the stories, and we know the history when it comes to, voting rights for women, For us African Americans, like, our Black women, it's, we didn't get enough rights. There's not enough going on, and we need to know not just what is needed to overcome, but also we need to understand what it is mentally that you're going through as well. And I think this is super important for, not just, obviously for women and children, but us even as men, so we can understand as well.
I like your way of thinking, Charles.
Sonny, we have to, because I look at it like this. My daughter just turned 19, right? So a couple of days ago, and I always look at it as, as she's growing up, I'm learning more about her. I can't fill her with enough information to say, hey, you have to do it this way. She's going to form her own opinion, her own outlook, her own path that she needs to go. I have to not just respect it, but I have to, encourage her, support her, do certain things that's going to, continue on with her confidence and her mission as far as what that mission entails. And she's young, obviously. She has 50 million things that she wants to do. And, my only advice to her is go get those 50 things. And if you can't get those 50 things right away, start piecing together one by one, take these steps. But again, it goes back to understanding. You have to really not just, like, and you said it earlier, not just, not just pay attention. You got to hear, you got to listen, you got to do that. It's important.
Yeah, not just look, but see. But do know, Charles, that whether she's busy or, running around doing any number of the things that you're talking about, Charles, she sees you. She's watching.
Absolutely.
You are her example among others, but you are her number one example. So she sees you, just like in any other father-daughter, father-son relationship, husband and wife. The children see you. They hear you. They may not, you may think they don't, but they see you. And they learn from you. And what is it that you want them to walk away with? What is it that you want them to learn from you?
I think that support is going to be important. Confidence. You want to make sure your kids and, even your spouse, your significant other is filled with, what, not only am I going to support you, I just want you to be confident in whatever you're doing. Whatever it is that you're going to do that's going to make you happy at the end of the day, that should be your end game, or your journey continued, because, everybody, you would want to think everybody wants to be happy. You can't live in a miserable cocoon all your life. You would want to be happy. That should be a goal. It's just a process of, okay, what do I need to do to get there? And not only that, obviously, I always feel like support system is always great. You can go and take on the challenge yourself, but, Sonny, I still believe in that it takes a village mentality to make your circle, strong. And that comes with, certain family people as well, family, friends, spouses or whatnot. That's super important. I still believe in it takes a village. Still do.
100. And let me just add another point to that, and I'm speaking in the case of a woman. So a woman is perhaps having difficulties in her marriage, and she shares these things with her friends and family. And then hypothetically, they get to a point where they're tired of hearing about it, and they suggest, just get out, walk away. And so what happens, typically speaking, is the woman reverts back and she stops sharing because they don't want to hear it on repeat. So that could be in her life the most difficult time that she's not sharing. So in speaking about a village, in that time for a woman when going through a separation, sometimes she just needs you to listen. But call her up and say, how are you? And actually hear what she's saying. And again, sometimes just listen. Be part of her village. Be there for her. Because if you're there for her and her children, then she can be there for her children, knowing that she has her village supporting her.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. Go ahead and follow this young queen, Sunny, on Instagram at Sunny, SUNNIEBIZ13. Also, you have another Instagram out, a Broken Vows documentary as well. Sunny's my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. And a couple more questions. This documentary, as the world anticipates on its release, and I know there's a lot of things that's going to come full circle before we're all able to see it in its entirety. With everything that you've accomplished with this part in this section, how do you feel about it personally? How have you, at the end of the day, before it's already out there for the world, is this one that you can put to bed and say, you know what, I did my very best?
Another good question, Charles. Well, yes, I would have to say that I did. I gave it my all. And to make sure and put a period on it, as I was mentioning earlier, I just completed a digital 6-volume resource that is a companion resource to the documentary. So, for example, Volume 1 is about wellness. How do you take care of yourself during this difficult time? Because, again, if a woman and a man takes care of themselves during this very difficult time, then they can be there for their children. And then, again, Volume 2 is on legal, going back to the judge I was speaking about earlier, and 4 different lawyers. And then I have domestic abuse. I have a sex therapist. What if you want to go back to school? All of this can be found in these individual 6 volumes, which can be found on my website at the moment, brokenvowsfilm.com. So when you ask me that question and I combine all of these together, Charles, yes, I have.
Listen, I'm eagerly anticipating it because I wanna know. I feel like, again, and I've said this and I'll continue to say it as a broken record throughout my entire life moving forward, I can always learn something from somebody. And I think having something like this is important because, again, I said it earlier as well, I don't know everything. I don't know everything about everybody and what everybody has gone through. Even if I know somebody, there's still other things that I feel like people still need to, again, and you said this earlier, to just stop and listen and pay attention. And I think if we all can do that, life will be a lot better. But I know it's a challenge in itself. So my final question, my queen, Sunny, is, in the next 5 years plus, how do you see your legacy as being built accordingly by you? I know you still have, a lot of journeys to, and accomplishments to put out there, but how do you see your legacy at the end of the day?
Wow. Well, I see it in many different ways. Firstly and foremost, Benchboy Productions, Inc. was created and put together to help people. And to help people where, again, I recognize the void. But, Charles, I am now presently talking to a literary agent about doing my memoir. So I think that'll be the beginning of a further legacy for myself. And then who knows what will come of that memoir. But first and foremost, it is about helping, for lack of a better description, the underdog, filling a void. And like I said, I'm about to embark on my memoir.
Listen, I love it. I would love to know and be there to support your journey as well. And obviously we're doing an interview, but, keeping tabs on how we're pushing forward to, again, people help people. And I think we should all be a part of that, just, especially because if you have passion like you do for your craft and you want to continue to evolve and grow, which is obviously in this case right here, it'll be great to see. So, from a media standpoint and also a personal one, I'm excited. I'm happy for your continued journey, and anything that our station can do to support, we will definitely do that, and we will do it because, it's I always feel like anything that you have something out there is a gift, that you're giving to the people, and we're doing it now, letting all these people out there know exactly where we stand when it comes to what's next for you. And people that's curious, they're gonna tap in and they're gonna find out exactly what's going on. But honestly, I'm just looking forward to all things, not just with this project, but with future projects as well. And I can't tell you enough that I appreciate it. I really do.
Oh, Charles, that is so sweet of you to say, and I really appreciate you saying that. That means so much to me.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I want all the people out there to go and follow Zenni on Instagram. Zenni, SUNNIEBIZ13, Instagram as well. Broken Vows documentary. Facebook is SMC Fadden Curtis. Facebook as well. Broken Vows Film. BrokenVowsFilm.com is the website, right?
Yes, BrokenVowsFilm.com is the website. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So everybody that's listening will be listening. Just go ahead and do that. Just go follow, show some support. Click on the alerts too, so y'all can get all the upcoming information. Because I know I did. I already followed you, my queen. So, any final things that you want to tell the people listening and will be listening throughout the United States and overseas? I'll let you have the floor if there's anything you want to say.
Once again, thank you, Charles. What I'd like to say in closing is you can get through the darkness to the light. And remember that if not handled, i.e. the separation appropriately, the most vulnerable, being the children, will be most affected. And we have to protect them, and we have to think of them first. They are our future.
Thank you for listening to the #1 radio station for the people.